Hello and welcome to Tyson and Teddy Talk episode. What is this? 28, I think. I think it's 28. Yeah, we're here. So Tyson, before we go back, it's a podcast and where we talk, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So before we go back earlier in the week, I just wanted to start with right now. You know what I mean? What's going on? What's your Saturday like? You know what I'm saying, dude?
What did I do today? Well, I moved.
Do anything?
I moved my desk out. Sort of cleaned up some wires. It's still really tough because I'm working. Because I have the work computer.
Yeah.
And so that has to connect into a whole bunch of stuff. So I kind of cleaned up wires, but instead of having another mic arm that connects to my desk for my camera, I found a mic stand, just an old mic stand that I have. And so I put the mic stand behind my desk, so I had to pull my desk out from the wall. But now if my desk shakes, the camera doesn't shake.
Oh.
And so if
the
my
camera
hit,
is on the old mic stand?
Yeah, it's just on a mic stand. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so I set that up, and so it's a little bit farther back. And I was trying some stuff with different camera angles. And this way it's actually easier because I can move that mic stand left or right, wherever I kind of want pretty easily.
It's more independent.
Yeah. So I did that. Was it Saturday? Oh, I did laundry.
Yeah.
Nice. So laundry's done.
Nice.
House is somewhat clean. I got to clean some more. What else? That's about it. I have these. I got all these supplements. I got my supplement order in, and so I've cut off coffee now for a week. And
good.
The first it's not really good. The first 5 days
it won't be good for a bit.
It was bad. Yeah. I had headaches all day.
Yeah.
And I was just my God, it has to be
whenever
the caffeine.
You cut off coffee, I've done it in the past. What I usually try and do is right now, recently over the last month or two, I've been having I'll drink a cup of coffee in the morning and then halfway through the day ish, and then the 2 cups of coffee. But what I have done in the past is instead of making the 12-ounce thing on my K-Cup, I'll make it 8-ounce in the morning and then do a regular 12, and then I'll cut out the one, and then I'll make the second one 8-ounce, and then I'll cut off the second one entirely. Then it's 1 cup, and then it's none. I'll try and slowly wean myself off of it.
I just make
instead of just fucking cutting, because that'll do headaches.
I just usually make a pot of coffee, which I think is 6 cups, and so then I just have that. Which is really just 2. It's 2 of my big mug of those. Yeah. But the thing is I would put a little bit of sugar in, maybe a splash of milk or something like that. And so if I cut off coffee, it's easier for me to cut off even just that sugar and milk in the morning.
It's true.
So I did that.
Cutting off coffee is, in that case, it's helpful in multiple ways because it's not just the coffee.
And so but then I got my supplement order, and I ordered this thing. It was it's only $10 with the order, but it's a bottle of literally just caffeine pills. and oh my God, does it work?
That's probably more caffeine than
it is.
You were having before.
But that's the thing. It's I really wanted to cut off the sugar and the milk part of the coffee, and I'm not going to drink the coffee black. So I'm okay, well, what is? I'm no, I'm not. Because it's just bad. It's bad for your teeth.
It's fair.
It's bad for your teeth.
Drink
it's bad for your breath.
Somewhat black, but it took a long time to get used to it. Well, here's the thing. Originally, I didn't like coffee at all. Just I didn't like the taste of coffee. So even I don't know, some fucking giant sugary frappuccino or whatever the fuck at Starbucks, I wouldn't because I could still taste the little bit of coffee that was in there, and I just didn't like the taste of coffee. And then for a while I was I kind of want, and I also don't drink soda because I don't like carbonated drinks, so I just didn't really use caffeine in my life, and I was wanting a good little, I wanted to have a boost of energy, so I slowly just started making myself drink coffee, but I didn't know much about coffee, so I was drinking it mostly black. I didn't add sugar, but I did add a little bit of milk. And that was it, and it wasn't great. So it was pretty close to black. So I started off coffee in the mornings, just forcing myself to drink that until eventually I was like, no, I actually do kind of like this.
Well, it's
yeah,
coffee, beer, wine. I think those are the three that I know of that are acquired tastes.
Yeah.
So like the first time you drink them, the very first time you try coffee, wine, or beer, you're probably not gonna like it.
Yeah.
And then
that's
the more
like
that you
my
have
whole,
it,
back
the
in
more
the
that you
day, I
have
was like,
beer, the more
but
that you
why
have
would
coffee.
you? Yeah. Back in the day, I was always like, but why would anyone acquire that taste? And I get it, caffeine. Caffeine
but it's not
is the
even that.
answer.
Like,
and also alcohol is the answer for the other two.
no, because not exactly.
They drink it originally for a different purpose, but then eventually
because like if you start to like beer, you don't drink it to get drunk anymore.
Yeah.
Because
but
one,
originally
really
that's
good
kind
beer,
of the purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To start yourself. But then it does
and it's
become a thing where
it's
you
just
actually like it.
the acquired taste is literally just your taste buds like adjusting to this new kind of very, very different kind of taste.
Yeah.
And and like the best coffees don't have the most caffeine in it. The best beers don't have the most alcohol or like alcohol percentage in it. And so that's the thing. It's like you start to like you enjoy coffee, but you want like nice tasting coffee, and you don't really drink it for the caffeine anymore. You drink it because it tastes like that much better. Same with like wine, but I don't know that much about wine. But the caffeine pills, oh boy, so you get like it's like $10 for a tiny bottle, but there's like 240, and you only take one a day. And so I'm like, that's a good price for that whole bottle.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, you get 240. There's like a tiny little pill, take it in the morning, and I'm good. And like the day that I got it, I just took one, and like the headaches are gone. The headaches have been gone like since. And it's just like fucking beautiful. It is rough. It is like so rough when you cut something off like cold turkey like that.
I mean, caffeine. You can
understand
literal
like,
caffeine headaches. Like that is your body not.
And like I tried to drink water. I tried to
so.
have like more sleep, but like the headaches just wouldn't go away because
no, they don't.
That
You
wasn't.
You just have to toughen it out. But for me, honestly, what I've done in the past, because I've had moments where it straight up is like I should just stop drinking coffee because one, caffeine in general is not great for you. So it's like in like long-term health. But also, it's not great for my anxiety either. So I've had moments where I've wanted to just stop using caffeine for the most part, and I have like weaned myself off coffee. And when I do that, I do slowly take away the coffee, and then eventually, when all of it's gone, I still do end up with headaches, but it's only about like 1 to 2 days, and then they're gone, and then it's like, oh, you're fine, and I'm like, oh, cool. So yeah, they're definitely there. But if you cut it off, it's not easy, and sometimes those headaches can be really fucking not fun.
Yeah, and like there's just really nothing you can. You just have to ride it out, and I'm just like, I just don't want to do that. And I knew that like I was done my coffee like tin or whatever, and I don't get the best coffee, so it's not like I'm drinking it for the taste. I was literally just drinking it for the caffeine. So this is just an easier way, and then it cuts out a little bit more sugar because I'm trying to like cut back a lot of sugar. So
and to
if
be
I
fair,
can cut off sugar like that, then
it could have. The caffeine pills themselves probably do have a lot of caffeine, but there's probably like if you made a giant ass thing of coffee, like the like 6 cups, that's a lot. The caffeine pills might not have that much if you only take one a day.
I think it's like it's more. It's definitely more.
Is it? Because I know a cup of coffee has about on average like I think an 8-ounce cup of coffee has like 80 milligrams of caffeine, and I know 400 is like the safe amount of caffeine to drink in a day. 400 milligrams. So I know a lot of those pills and like energy drinks, a lot of those are like just straight like 200. And I
think it's either like 200 or 240.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but
it's about right.
But they work, and it's great.
Done, you know?
It is just so good. And I got pre-workout too, which also has caffeine in it. And so like that's so like and then and so I got pre-workout before, But I have like this 16, I think it's like a 16-ounce shaker. And I would always just like put the pre-workout in and fill it up to the top pretty much.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, and it tastes fine. I was like, whatever. But I didn't really understand until I like saw like I think it was like a TikTok thing where some girl, they were doing like dry shots of pre-workout.
Ew.
And she had to be like hospitalized. And then I was like reading an article about it and saying like, oh, it dilutes it. And I'm like, but if it dilutes it in your stomach, wouldn't it? And I just wasn't really, my brain didn't really comprehend, like if you dilute pre-workout into like a lot more water, it takes a lot more time for it to get into your bloodstream. And so then I followed the instructions of like the can, and it's only like 8 ounces of water.
Yep.
And I was doing like 16.
8 ounce.
I was doing like 16 to like maybe
Like
20.
6.
And so it was like 8 ounces. So I did 8 ounces, and I like drank it, and I was like, holy shit, this is like really strong, like in taste.
Yeah.
But then like the workout, I was just like, I was flying.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that's funny. It's probably like when you're so used to the taste of it in like 16 ounce, when you probably drank it with the 8 ounce, it was probably really strong. Because
It was very strong.
It's like, that would be as if, have you ever, man, I don't know if you ever had this, but I remember going to a friend's house as a kid at one point, and they had Gatorades, but they had poured, they had filled up, I don't know if they poured half of it out or something, or if they poured half of it into something, but they purposefully watered down the Gatorade. As in like poured out, I think straight up half of it.
But it's already like
and then
water.
filled half of it with water. And I was like,
it's like water already.
It probably tasted like that because you just took out a bunch of stuff like that where, yeah, it's probably super strong. It's crazy.
But it was good. So I'm happy I got that stuff. Yeah, that's about it.
To be honest, I ordered supplements.
Supplements are fun,
I have these treats for Ion that are like hemp treats that she likes. I got her those. And then I also ordered, I take a vitamin D supplement. But I think that got delivered about 2 days ago. And I haven't gone to the mailbox to get it. And they are probably all just melted now that I think about it. I'm like, I thought about that this morning. I was like, I should go out to my mailbox. And then I was like, wait, those are probably not good anymore. We'll see.
Can't you just get vitamin D like pills?
They're vitamin D pills, but they're little tiny like gel capsules. So they're like a little bit sticky. So I imagine they're kind of all stuck together. You know what I mean? But we'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
not.
know if those like melt. I don't think.
No,
those
they probably
melt.
won't melt, but they're probably like if I open the can, they're probably all just not exactly a blob,
stick them,
but stuck together.
Just like stick them in the freezer for like an hour, and then shake
or
the
just
bottle.
throw it in the fridge and then eventually shake it and hope they split up into the regular bits. Should be okay, but yeah, I need to go get that. Dude, my Saturday's been good. I actually did. I was just now watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Motherfucking Stone. Let me tell you.
What the first one?
Yeah. What a
I
movie.
can't remember all the names.
What a fucking weird ass. Like it's so good,
It's a good one.
And in a weird way, like it is very like it's a good movie because not even necessarily the structure of the movie. It's like a weird. She just the tone of the world is very good and interesting. Like even as somebody who has seen those movies before and have read the books, watching it very much is like, God damn, this is pretty fucking magical. You know what I mean? Like it kind of gets you. You're just like, this is cool because it is very silly and just purposefully not like realistic in any way. Like, you know, if you thought about what an actual, you know, what wizards in the real world would look like and what their castles would be like, it is very clear that she wasn't really going for that. It's more specifically going for like, you know, we're trying to have this be magical and, you know, fantastical. And it's great.
Well,
it's a fun time, you know? But I still feel bad about it, but goddamn, I'm gonna be watching those. I think that's my plan. My plan, honestly, because I had a lot more time over the week to play video games. I was like, honestly, what I should do is I should go get snacks and I should come back and just watch Harry Potter. And I think that might be what I do, at least today. I don't know, which is pretty cool. You know,
it's a good. I still like to watch because they're all Christmas movies to me. There's all Christmas movies, except for maybe the last two.
Well,
and they get dark.
They all technically
they get real dark.
Yeah, I mean, they all technically have a moment where Christmas happens. It's supposed to happen over a whole school year, but they place usually in the stories in each of the books or movies, like a big moment kind of happens during Christmas, and they do pay a big attention to it. I don't know why they really focus on Christmas more than any other holiday, but yeah, they have like,
because it's the only one that
Christmas
matters.
Scene. Yeah, I guess.
It's really
You're
the only
right.
one that
You're fucking right.
it's the only one that the world like collectively celebrates, I think.
Yeah, holidays are weird because a lot of holidays are religious, all things considered. But Christmas, there is usually another version of in lots of different religions, and it's all around the same time. You know,
like if you think of like all of the holidays, like what are some holidays that the UK and North America celebrate at the same time?
Yeah, I don't think they care about Halloween.
No, and it's not a holiday, not really.
I mean, technically.
It's not like you don't get a day off for Halloween.
What are the UK national holidays? That's what I want to know.
Well,
I
they
bet
have.
it's very different.
Oh yeah, because
They
they're
do
all
have,
like about
Easter and Good Friday and stuff. New Year's Day.
Oh yeah, I guess anything Christian related, the world celebrates.
Which is stupid.
But that's just how the world works.
Yeah, Christmas Day probably is. It's one of the more universal holidays, most.
And like Easter is a holiday, but it's also when you think about when you date it back to like what, even though it probably didn't happen, like Christmas is when Jesus was born. That's a celebration, and it's like Easter is when he dies. It's like you don't really like celebrate it. You don't sing songs. There are no Easter songs, but we love Christmas music.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Christmas is also just. I think it's probably more universal and international because it's an aesthetic. Like there is a Christmas like visuals. Like if you think Christmas, you and not only visuals, just on like, you know, if you think of Easter, you think of like pastel colors and stuff like that, right? But if you think of Christmas, you think of not just like manufactured visuals, but you think of actual like snow and like the actual climate around you kind of, you know, playing into that as well. Also, I Googled the top 10 biggest holidays around the world. Number 1, Christmas. So yeah, makes sense. Number 2, Hanukkah. 3, New Year. Makes sense. 4, Chinese New Year. Also makes sense.
Yeah.
5, Ramadan. And I don't know how to say that. Eid al-Fitr. Oh! Speaking of, that's just like, that made me think of fucking one of the things I've been watching. Let me tell you.
Freudian slip.
One of the things I have been fucking watching is Jack Ryan. I mentioned how I've been wanting to watch it forever, and I watched it. I started that last week. I watched season 1. It's fucking awesome, and I started season 2. I'm about halfway through it. It's really good. It's really good. I'm really pumped I didn't watch it sooner, to be honest. But now I'm glad I have season 1 and 2 to go back to back instead of having to wait for season 2. But I had a blast with that because it is very like, after I finished season 1, I was like, holy shit, that was better than I thought it would be. It has problems in that there are like, season 1 has this whole side storyline with this like drone pilot dude, and I kept thinking that was gonna like connect, and it just kind of didn't. Like, it did very minorly, in a very little minor way that like sort of kind of connects, and then I'm like, okay, but why did we spend so much time on him? Didn't matter in the end. But and then season 2 started doing a similar thing where they started paying attention to like this other dude, and I was like worried it wasn't gonna connect, and then like episode 4 they kind of connected, and I'm like, oh cool, this is better. But yeah, season 1 ended, and it is the reason why I liked it is it is very me in the fact that it is like some of my favorite shit from like, I'm gonna say it, Arrow. And like
So I would not like the show.
it's some of my favorite parts from Arrow, but also the it's like
Favorite parts of
MCU
a bad
Netflix
show
too.
are still a bad show.
Oh my god. But it's also reminded me of like MCU Netflix of like not just Daredevil, definitely Daredevil vibes, but also like Jessica Jones, because the whole point of Jack Ryan is that he's smart. Like he's figuring shit out with intelligence. It's not.
Well, he's an
like
analyst. He's not an operative.
Yeah, 100%. Which is really.
That's
cool.
the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Like when I watched the first couple episodes when it first came out.
Yeah.
But this is coming from somebody who watched all of the Harrison Ford stuff.
Yeah.
And so like that's the Jack Ryan that I sort, and I like read a couple of the Tom Clancy books with Jack Ryan in them.
See, I had no background,
and
I just went in.
Yeah, and so like the Jack Ryan in those movies, like literally Harrison Ford is just like a smart analyst, and then it's almost like a Die Hard kind of scenario, but he was a cop, but still where it's like he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and so he has to kind of like adapt, and he's into these like crazy situations, but he's an analyst.
That's what I figured
and
it
so,
kind of would be, all the others too.
And where like I like John Krasinski, I think he was a little too, I don't want, maybe too buff, not buff. Maybe.
Bro, he's fucking yoked.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, dude's
And that's
jacked.
the thing. It's like Harrison Ford.
But I like that.
Harrison Ford's never really been like jacked. He's always just kind of like a normal guy, I guess.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why it made
dude.
him more believable as an analyst, that he was just like a normal guy. But
I thought it fit very well I thought they set up the whole idea of it pretty well, and I kind of thought it would be that too. Like I read some premises of like the Jack Ryan character, and also the show of like what it's supposed to be, where he's an analyst, but he keeps getting pulled back into the action. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh great, this is gonna be silly in how they do it. But I thought they actually did that pretty well, where it wasn't like he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It kind of made sense how he was there and handling it, and I kind of liked it. There were some bits where I was like, okay, you're doing this a little bit because he's the main character. You know what I mean?
Well,
but there weren't a ton of that. There was some of it, but not a ton. But I like how they set him up as an analyst, and the reason he's fucking jacked is because, I mean, this isn't really spoilers. I think they go through most of this in like the first episode. But he's like basically he was in the Marines, and like his helicopter crashed with like him and all his like squad or whatever, and he was like the only one surviving, but he was like paralyzed for a while, and eventually like had a shit ton of surgeries done on his back and whatnot. And that's like very clearly like he does like rowing, which I thought was a cool detail when I thought back on it later. Like in the first episode, you see him at like 5 a.m. fucking rowing. And I was like, and looking just jacked, dude. But later I thought back on it and I was like, rowing is actually like a pretty back muscle intensive exercise. And I was like, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they kind of make sense in that he's an analyst, but he was previously a Marine, and it's like kind of all works. But I liked it a lot. And the reason why I say like Daredevil and Jessica Jones is the whole intelligence thing. Like in the end too, they kind of set it up. I'm going to say this in the least spoilery way possible, but they kind of set it up like is going to be Daredevil season 1 of like, oh, we're going to take Kingpin down in the alley, fucking have that awesome fight scene, you know? But then it ends in a way that kind of is that, because they did set that up and kind of set that expectation, but also not. Like, it also was a very, like, it was realistic in a way of how things probably would work somewhat, maybe a little far-fetched, as in, like, you know, it is still a TV show, but definitely a lot more realistic than that. But it was still satisfying. I thought if they did something like that, it would kind of cut you short, and you'd be like, you know, leaving me hanging, not like actually a good, satisfying conclusion, but it was still. And I was very impressed with that. I was like, hell yeah, dude. All right. It was great. I'm liking it a lot. I'm going to go through and probably finish season 2 this next week. And then season 3 is supposed to come out at some point this upcoming year, I think. I think they've already started filming, which is cool. It made
I
me in
watched-
season 2. Let me tell you, made me want to play Far Cry 6 because it's like it's literally the same story. It's like a corrupt leader in Venezuela.
You and about 20 other people.
6 other people. Yeah.
I gave it 20.
I had no interest.
20.
No, I
20
honestly
people
had no
probably
interest
play
before
Far
I
Cry
watched.
6.
I had no interest until I watched season 2, and then I was like, this kind of just reminds me of Far Cry 6. So we'll see.
Far Cry. Oh, Far Cry.
So here's the thing with Far Cry.
They literally peaked at 3, and then they're just like, let's try and just do 3 over and over and over again, and they just can't hit it. They can't hit it.
The only thing, in my opinion, well, this is coming from somebody who I actually haven't played 3, but I've watched people play 3 and whatnot, but I haven't played it. That's one of the reasons why I was thinking about getting 6, because I was like, it does come with 3. Maybe I'll just fucking play that. But in my opinion, but this is, coming from somebody who hasn't played it, it looks like they very much are trying, since Far Cry 4, they were like, oh, we gotta catch the magic of 3 again. But the only aspect in that they have continued to do over and over is the villain. I think they keep trying to make a super compelling villain. They did it with 4, they did it with 5. I don't think they did it with New Dawn or Primal, but they're definitely trying to do it again with 6.
Honestly, my ranking of the Far Cries goes 3 and then Primal, and then I don't know about the other 2.
Primal was fun. I didn't play as much of Primal as I would have liked, but like
I liked it because it was literally like not in English. You're literally a caveman. I'm like, that is some realistic ass shit. Where it's like they actually went the extra mile, and you still you get subtitles, but you don't they don't all of a sudden speak English, and I'm like, man, that's what I like. I hate these places, like even in the 4, which is somewhere in the Himalayas.
Yeah,
everybody just speaks fucking English, and I'm like, that's not. Even in Assassin's Creed, I can understand because it's literally a digital representation, so you can kind of bend the reality like that.
You can throw out the rule there and be like, just like in
Far
Doctor
Cry,
Who, where
though,
the TARDIS translates everything.
Yeah, Far Cry, you're just that person, and you're in this place, so the locals should literally be talking like the locals.
Yeah,
and I like when games actually go that extra mile and have the original language of the area that you're in, instead of just it being translated into English.
I have weird opinions on Far Cry, now that I think about it.
5, way too big, way too empty. That's the thing, is these maps are huge. These maps are huge, and then there just wasn't a lot of stuff to do from going from point to point. And
I think 4, now that I think about it, you're right. I think 4 definitely did a better job at that. 4 wasn't really giant and empty. There was a good amount of stuff there, especially in comparison.
Yeah, and then the 3, because there's sort of 3 villains in 5, and that was poorly done.
They tried to make the whole
3
Joseph a big deal.
Yeah, 3, you actually cared about the protagonist that you were. Honestly, in 4 and 5, you're just sort of a no-name character, really. Whereas in 3, I think you actually get to make choices. I think at the very end.
3. So here's what, from what I have seen, this is what I have slowly realized, and I think is the case with Far Cry. But this is, this is my opinions on 3 might not be correct. But it looks like 3 very much was this is an open world. Of course, you're gonna have silly video game shit, but it's an open world. There's an actual story. There's cutscenes. Your character had a name. The villain was interesting. It was an open world game, so there's gonna be some stuff that comes with that that's not exactly realistic. But for the most part, it was this is a serious quote unquote game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas 4 and onwards, especially 5, this is where I've noticed this. They seem like they are trying to. It's a very weird balance. Where Far Cry 5, when I was playing it, was just fucking video game, fun, ridiculous sort of abilities and shit. But whenever I did go to the main story in both 4 and 5, now that I think about it, when I did go to the main story missions, then it kind of somehow dialed in on like the story and somewhat did have a at least, you know, relatively competent story and like compelling story to where somehow it was weirdly able to be like crazy ass video game ass open world with silly weapons and silly shit. But also there is this story. And I don't know how they were somehow able to like balance that, but Far Cry's, from what I've seen with 5, even Primal and 4, and I'd never played the New Dawn or whatever, it seems like they're still trying to do that. That's their whole goal, is silly ass, ridiculous shit, but also there is a story. And it's weird that it kind of does work. It's weird.
But the story, I think, always the story falls flat for me, at least for
it's
4
not
and
great,
5.
but it is. What's impressive to me is that they are able to make it like the story is still trying to be serious, at least to a degree, and you're able to kind of take it seriously. You're like, okay, I'm here for it, even after the open world being just a playground. You know, it's kind of interesting.
Man. 3 is still just like the best Far Cry, and I don't think 6 is gonna. I don't think 6 is gonna make it like any better.
So at this point, knowing that about Far Cry, I think 6, if I were to get it and if I were to invest some time in it, I'd have a blast. I think it'd be really fun. Like in general, it would just be a fun ass playground with a story that is probably cool. You know what I mean? It's probably cool. It's probably a cool out of 10. But like, it's low on my priority list because of that. It's like, it'd be fun. It'd be cool. I think I honestly would probably enjoy it more than I would expect, because every time I do spend time in a Far Cry, I do enjoy it more than I expect. But like, it's not high on my priority list. You know what I mean? But it's all right. I think it would be fun if I did spend time in it, because it usually is. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird in that way.
I'm probably gonna skip Far Cry 6.
Yeah, I would
I'll probably
only get
watch
it if
like
I
a
did.
playthrough.
If I had, if I saw it on sale, or if I had a good amount of extra money at the time, or time, if I had extra time, then cool. But it's just not high on my list of things. But speaking of video games, we should talk about like E3 shit. There was E3. We talked about Saturday last time.
Was there E3 though? Was there? I don't know.
A little bit. It was a little.
This is a really quick segment of the E3. It was E3 2021 was a solid, I don't know, 4 out of 10. It was meh. And you know what? That's not to say that the developers are not working their asses off. I don't think they should have held one this year. I think they should have waited until next year. Or at least later in the year, and had individual conferences. Like Microsoft was great. Microsoft finally made a fucking good presentation. They finally hit the nail on the head.
That's an interesting take, but sure.
That's that's everybody's take.
Okay. I thought Microsoft's presentation was good, but not any particularly
it was better than the last
any of the past ones.
It was better than all of the past ones since like the Xbox One was announced.
Well,
Microsoft does not know how to pace. They do not know how to pace a conference. This was perfectly paced. Like this was the E3 conference that Microsoft should have like going forward.
Was this not like, so this is me trying to remember the other one. There was one that wasn't E3, because E3 hasn't happened in like 2 years. But there was one it was after they unveiled the Series X, and it wasn't the one that was like, actually maybe it was the one that started with like Bright Memory Infinite. There was one that I remember that they did that the whole point was specifically every single game you see in this conference is going to be is on Game Pass. And I thought that conference was fucking awesome. As a conference, I thought that was incredible. I thought that was paced super well, and there were a shit ton of games, and they were all available on Game Pass. So I don't know. And even the past couple of E3 conferences have been paced well. It's just that they don't have a ton of super interesting games until now. I think there are a lot more games I'm interested in personally. Like the pacing of this conference is not any different than the past couple conferences. Like they literally 100%. Do this. They do exactly like this.
110%. I guarantee you. you watch any other conference and you will be bored like halfway through the conference. In the Microsoft presentation 2021, there was no spot where I was like, "Oh, this is boring." Like move along. They didn't spend too much time on a particular piece. They moved quickly. They talked a little bit about some games, but they moved fast. And like that's the kind of conference that you want.
They do that every time. They do that
they
literally
don't.
every time. They don't take breaks
No,
and
they
they do game. That's what people have literally said for the last like 3 years about how Xbox is good with that. They literally don't talk a ton. They just show games.
100% disagree. Everybody has been saying
like the
everybody
conference
on
where
Twitter,
they showed Fable and Avowed and all of that. They game. They didn't talk. They just showed
what
games.
Fable? What the hell
I'm not
is
talking
Fable?
about this one. I'm talking about the previous. The previous conference where they showed Fable at the end of the conference where they showed Avowed,
Fable?
Obsidian's new game. The new Fable coming out.
I don't even know about a new Fable coming out.
You might not have watched that conference. Maybe that's why.
That's how boring that conference was, maybe. I can guarantee, like, everybody on Twitter was like, holy shit, wow, an actual good Microsoft conference. Like, that's literally, whenever it's E3.
I don't think that was because of the pacing, but that's fine.
But then why wouldn't...
Because there's better games. There were a lot more better games.
Not really. There wasn't that many games that I'm, like, stoked to play on Xbox. I was just like, man, this is an actually good pace. Like, I'm not bored. I'm not like, even in Square Enix, and I love Square Enix, I was like, holy shit, get off Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I don't want to see this much of this fucking game.
So
it was 15 minutes of a 45-minute presentation.
Yeah, so
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Xbox talk here. I personally disagree, but that's just because I've liked the previous Xbox conferences. I thought they were paced very similarly. But I will say, I do agree with this one being paced well. I thought it was very good, and I was very interested in a lot of the games. But after that, Xbox, we did talk about that last time. What was Xbox?
Bethesda. Or no, that was Xbox.
Xbox and Bethesda, yeah. And then Sunday, what was there Sunday? There was Square Enix. There was... there was other shit. Ubisoft was Saturday. I don't remember what was on Sunday other than Square. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, Square Enix's conference, I will say, that was one at the end where I saw Twitter like not enjoying that one. And I was surprised because I had a good time. I don't know. I will say they definitely did spend a lot of time on Guardians, sure, but Guardians look dope. Like, I'm super into that, so I was like, cool. Give me that game.
I don't know.
I'm having fun.
Like they had like a weird thing where they showed a bunch of that game, and then there could have been like a break and then went to something else, but then they went back into like a deeper diver of that game, and I'm like, why are we still on
And then
this
at the
game?
end, they did another break and then went back to like 10, 15 seconds of like, here's a boss.
They showed that same tentacle joke like twice very quickly. And I'm just like, oh my God. Where like Peter Quill's like saying goodbye to like
kissing a tentacle.
Someone, and I'm just like, okay, guys, we get it.
We get it. Peter fucks aliens.
It was like, yes, I'm excited for that game. I didn't need to see that much about it. It just feels like they didn't have enough for a conference. They just like shoved a ton of that game because like they showed off. What else did they show off? Like, that's the thing. They showed off that. They showed off the. They showed off the. The Sprite or like Final Fantasy 1 through 6.
So I have a list here. Yeah, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster coming soon to PC and mobile, and I think that was the 1 through 6 remasters. And then
that was all I was really stoked for.
That's the one thing I didn't care about at all. And then Babylon's Fall, which I thought looked really cool. Apparently no one else did. Everyone's like, what happened to Babylon's Fall? I was like...
I don't even remember what that game was.
Cool. I literally went to sign up for the beta multiple times, but the website was crashed. Hitman Sniper mobile game. Black Panther expansion. In Avenger. I keep saying, I don't really have high hopes for that because of fucking Avengers. But like, the Black Panther suit in that fucking game, in that expansion, looks very good.
But that's the thing. You see on Twitter, I see like photo mode of Avengers, the game, and everything looks really cool. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, everything looks good when you stop playing the game and use photo mode. But like
I will say
the minute to minute gameplay, I don't know. It's still until they fix it, change it. I don't know. Yeah, I just can't get behind it.
I will say I bought that game Forever Go on PC on sale just to play through like the single player and just to play that story. And I have yet to do that. I do still want to do it, but I haven't done it yet. And then after that, it was Life is Strange Remastered, which I thought was kind of odd that it was just Life is Strange and Before the Storm and not 2. There's a whole other Life is Strange that they made. But I get that is one whole story, is like Before the Storm and the regular. It's like the prequel and then that whole thing. But yeah, that's cool. And then they showed a look of Life is Strange True Colors, the next one. And then Team Ninja's Final Fantasy spin-off Stranger of Paradise, which I also thought looked cool. Literally, like I was into almost all of this, and I was surprised that people were not. And then I was like, yeah, okay.
Again,
but
it was just not it wasn't paced well.
I mean, that's fair. That's true.
Like
they did show very extensive
a lot of Guardians
looks at multiple things, and like there was a lot of Guardians, a lot of Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Avengers about 5 minutes. Like they did very weirdly.
And absolutely zero Final Fantasy 16. And it's like, okay, I get it. That like, yeah, it's still in development, but just show us a little bit more. Even if you just say it's still coming soon, like we don't care, but like it wasn't at the conference at all, but you showed it at the last conference, which was 2 years ago. Like that doesn't make any sense. Just show a little bit more of the game. Show the same shit in a different order, and people will still be like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited for that game." Just keep that game in our minds.
Yeah.
That's all like we were asking for. At least that's all I was asking for. They didn't show any Endwalker. Again, kind of weird. The like PS5s are out and about, and the Endwalker update, I think, or the PS5 update is for Final Fantasy 14 is out.
Yeah, that
so
is
like why not
odd.
Just again like you.
Because like ESO even does that. They even in the Xbox Bethesda show, they spent a little bit of time being like, "Hey, Blackwood is out, like the new ESO expansion." They didn't even mention that like the PS5 version of 14 is out. Like that'd be you could do that in like 20, 30 seconds.
And like the one, like they did the Final Fantasy 1 through 6, like the pixel version, which is awesome, but they didn't really show. They showed that for like 10 seconds, and that was it. And I was like,
yeah.
Show me more of that. Like I want to play through all of those games again.
I thought that was very well paced, that part, because I was like, this is going to be for a niche audience that not a ton of people are into 1 through 6. So it's not like,
6
they should spend
is the next the next biggest Final Fantasy from 7. So I think like 1 through 6 is pretty huge that we're getting like nice pixel remaster of it.
Yeah. That is good. Fucking speaking of, we can go back because there is like a couple more things from E3 to talk about. But have you finished the 7 intermission yet? Which is what I realized. I heard that was called intermission in Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade. So I was like, okay. But yeah, have you finished that yet? Not yet.
No, I think I'm nearing the end. Not too sure. It's only like 2 chapters. It's not long at all.
That's good.
Because it was only like $20, so but
I wasn't sure how
still
much
good.
It either.
Still good. Yuffie feels great. I think like this is kind of what they are going to do going forward, which a lot of people are going to hate, is that like they're going to have these little DLCs in between the 2 games to almost introduce a character, so that when you play that character in part 2 or part 3 or part 4, however many parts they're going to be, you're already familiar with that character's play style, because like play styles are a lot different than just like turn-based combat. That I think like this is like a really good way to introduce characters. And
good. Also, I will say, I thought we had talked about Xbox last week. No, Xbox was on Sunday, so we physically could not have done that. But
the winner of,
was there anything I wanted to talk?
The winner of E3. The winner of E3, though, hands down
Sure.
Sure?
I
What do you
really
mean?
didn't care much at all for Nintendo's. I thought it was.
How?
I was happy that they
We're
actually
getting-
showed Breath of the Wild 2 stuff because I honestly did not think they would. I was like, people are gonna be
Yeah.
clamoring for Breath of the Wild 2, but they're not gonna do it because it's Nintendo.
Exactly. Like,
But they did it.
Here's the thing. They didn't give a date. Did they give? No, they didn't give a date for Breath of the Wild 2.
I don't even
But that's
think
the
they
thing is
gave
like,
a year.
just show a little piece. Like you're working on the game, just show a little bit of it to get people excited. You don't have to give us a date, but then just show it. Like Final Fantasy 16. We know that game's happening. We know because you showed us already. Show us a little bit more. Breath of the Wild 2, like, man, I'm so on board. They even showed like mechanics. Like he can like
Yeah.
evaporate
They did
and
show,
like go through
gameplay
walls
stuff,
and
which is
shit.
cool.
They didn't show his face. That's kind of, it's like people are wondering why they're not, they didn't show his face throughout
They
the
showed,
whole
like,
trailer.
basically different models of Link,
Yeah.
which is weird.
He's got a
Made
metal,
people
he's got like a
theorize.
metal arm or something. It's, man, that game
is
is
so
going to
cool.
be, that's going to be the game of the year, whatever year it comes out. Hands down. Even if Final Fantasy 16 comes out the same year, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be game of the year.
Yeah. I will say I know so many people are clamoring for like the Switch Pro, but like I don't know. Part of me at this point, that's been rumored for so many years. Like, is it really gonna happen? Like,
I think so.
it's been so long, dude. I don't know. I'm just losing hope at this point.
The
Because
thing
there's been
is
so many different several conferences in Direct where it's like they're gonna talk about Switch Pro, nothing. They're gonna talk about Switch Pro, nothing. So it's just
Well,
like at this point,
eventually-
I'm like,
eventually
it's gonna be
true.
right if we keep saying it.
Yeah. But I think like this will probably coincide with Breath of the Wild 2 because then they'll say like, oh, you can play it on your Switch or you can play it on the Switch Pro at 60 frames. And it's like, oh shit. And then everybody's going to buy a Switch Pro.
Now that I think about it, I don't think they really showed the Switch off too long before it was for sale.
No.
Like they didn't really give a super
Same with
long
the-
time
same with the
period,
Switch Lite.
so, yeah, they might
So.
just do that again. Honestly, though, I mean, I don't remember almost anything else from the Nintendo Direct. What else was in it?
There's Mario Party. We're getting old Nintendo
was
64
good.
Mario Party. What else? Oh, the Mario Mario plus Rabbids. They showed that again, even though we got that at the Ubisoft conference. But still, very excited for that. Oh, they showed a new Metroid. What are you fucking talking about? They showed Metroid 5.
I don't care about Metroid. It's just personal. I've never played a
my
Metroid.
Oh God. And then they showed the Smash character, and I don't care about Smash, but I'm still like, that's pretty fucking huge. That now another Tekken character is coming in.
They have so many fucking Smash characters. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because they're still building this game. Like, that's crazy
that's
that this
cool.
game is still so. They're not making another game. They're just making more characters for this game.
It's only
Let's-
crazy because it's Nintendo. Every other developer does that already. It's only
No,
crazy.
they make
'cause
sequels.
It's like,
No, they make sequels. What are you talking about? Every other
like,
fighting
now-
game makes sequels.
oh, sure,
That's why
fighting
we're-
games. I'm just talking about games in general as a business model. Like nowadays, people
Still make
like,
sequels.
You know, look at Ubisoft. Every time they make a game, they try and keep that going for as long as possible. They had a
Yeah, but
whole
they still make
segment of, like,
sequels.
here's what's coming to Trackmania and For Honor and Brawlhalla, which has been going for years and years.
Still, but like those are games that nobody cares about.
But they keep alive with updates. Like For Honor has
Yeah.
like a huge community. I know Brawlhalla.
But not
does,
like
too.
not like updates in the fact where it's like, okay, we're adding new outside of like Nintendo named characters.
Yeah, sure. That's kind of just Smash at this point, but it's fair. I don't know.
I
At this
think-
point, they added fucking Steve from Minecraft, so I'm just like, all right. At this point, whatever.
we'll get-
like you've already hit
Soon
the
we'll
giant.
get Master Chief. Soon we'll get Master Chief. Soon we'll get Sora.
Surprised we haven't yet.
They also showed what was it? Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's coming to Switch.
Okay.
See, but
It's all
this is
super niche stuff.
but that's
Like, are you still playing
Smash?
Smash? When was the last time you played Smash?
No, but I'm saying I don't play Smash, but I can still observe the significance of these announcements. So that's why when I watched that conference, I'm like, yeah, they won compared to any other conference. Even if I don't care about
think
some of the stuff.
From a mass appeal standpoint, I think Xbox easily beat Nintendo.
No.
I don't think there were more shit from a mass appeal standpoint.
Do you
of
think
people being
do you
interested in
think
games
people
that
are like
Nintendo showed?
How many people are still talking about the Halo Infinite that they showed? Nobody's talking about it.
So many of my friends, literally, yeah.
I'm not talking about
my friends
just
today are fucking.
I'm not
like,
talking about just
theorizing
the
about
friends.
that.
I'm talking about the internet. I'm talking about as a collective. After the conference, after all the conferences, people weren't just like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited to play Halo Infinite. Holy crap, that is going to be the game of the year." Nobody was saying that. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, Breath of the Wild 2, inject that shit into my veins."
But what you are talking about is the gamer Twitter. That is different from the mass audience of people who play video games.
That still is like a pretty good pulse of the majority of people. You have game industry people like that. Like that still trickles down to their audiences.
From the mass appeal of people who play video games.
No, because they're literally influencers.
Sure.
So like their opinion is going to trickle down to their audience, who is going to then trickle down to other gamers. So if you have the influencers being not so hot on Halo Infinite, how did that win over Breath of the Wild 2?
I'm not talking Halo Infinite versus Nintendo versus Breath of the Wild. I'm talking about all the games shown in Xbox's conference versus all the games shown in Nintendo's conference. Which is mostly I don't know. All the things you mentioned in Nintendo's conference, I don't think are super significant. Personally, I don't know, but it is all subjective.
You don't think but that's the thing. You don't think Metroid is significant? Like that is fucking crazy.
I'm not saying that. I think it is very cool that Metroid, the Metroid that they announced, is something that wasn't that supposed to come out on like fucking GameCube? And it's like then it was rumored for years and years.
So this is
literally
Metroid.
a thing. This is what I heard.
This is Metroid 5. They're still making Metroid 4.
I know. That's not what I'm talking about. There was
How
this
great,
Metroid,
but that's
from
nuts.
what I've heard, like I listen to IGN GameScoop, I listen to Tentative Voice Chat. This Metroid was announced on like at a fucking conference like years and years ago. And then basically the rumor was that it was dead and that it wasn't coming out. And now like here it is, which is why a lot of the hardcore Nintendo fans are super stoked about it. That's pretty cool.
I think just hardcore Nintendo fans. I think hardcore like side-scrolling like fans. Like Metroid
but
literally
side-scrolling as a genre is niche. Like that's not giant mass appeal.
No. So you think that like Super Mario Brothers side-scrolling is niche?
Super Mario Bros. Is in its own fucking league. Literally any other side scroller is
okay, but then why pray tell do we call these side scrollers Metroidvania? Like it's literally a genre.
Calls it Metroidvania. I have my brother.
Everybody fucking calls it
video games.
Metroidvania.
Doesn't know what a Metroidvania is. It's not a
He's not
it's not on a box.
Finger on the pulse. But everybody,
that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the people who don't have their.
I'm not talking about the casual gamers.
There are more people. That is literally what I'm talking about, sir.
No,
that is my point.
Because literally the casuals don't watch E3.
I'm saying when I'm talking about who won E3, I'm not talking about it from the gamer standpoint. I'm talking about it who had the conference that I think the majority of people would be interested in those games, and I thought it was personally Xbox. But
what games from Xbox?
What
games were from Xbox? Except for Halo.
Forza, fucking the new
how many people
Starfield, the new Redfall arcade game, like
literally you said Forza. You don't think Forza is niche?
No, Forza sells like crazy. It's a racing game. More people play Forza than you would think.
But that's still...
It's like one of Xbox's best sellers.
Yeah, because that's like the only game that it has.
Oh my god.
Also, they showed a lot of games that are coming to a lot of other platforms.
Okay.
Like...
Exactly. Mass appeal. That's my point.
No, but I'm saying like, people. Okay, they showed Back for Blood, but you're going to get that on PC on like Epic.
Well, probably
so
Game Pass, because I didn't even realize. It's coming to Game Pass. So that's exciting.
Are you sure it's coming to Game Pass?
Yep.
Because I don't know why it's
on the list. It was on their big graphic.
I don't know.
It was on their big graphic. And I'm pretty sure it said PC as well, which because I looked for it specifically after that one time where I thought Outriders was coming to PC Game Pass, and then it wasn't. Now I
but that doesn't make sense then, because because that's why Outriders is on the Epic Games. Yeah, it's on the Epic Game Store, because it's not on PC Game Pass.
Okay.
Because you're not going to have a PC game.
Both.
No.
You literally can. There are multiple. Like, if you look up fucking Greedfall right now, I'm sure it's on Steam or Epic. It's just an RPG that's on Game Pass.
I'm talking about
well
like
as on Epic.
But a Game Pass PC.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
What do you mean? Are you saying that if there's a game?
Because there's literally exclusivity.
Let me get
there's literally exclusivity deals. Because like, why would Epic pay? Why would Epic pay for them to have it on their store when you can get it free on the PC Game Pass, which most people are probably going to do?
It's fair. I don't know,
like,
but I'm sure it exists. There's a shit ton of games on the Epic Store. Epic doesn't pay for exclusivity on all of the games that are on the Epic Store. There are lots of games on the Epic Store that are both on Steam as well.
They do pay for exclusivity.
Sure, but not every game on there is exclusive.
But most games are. But like when you're gonna have a game, yeah, like most of like the stuff that's coming out, like I'm just trying to think of like certain ones that have gotten it, but I haven't bought anything on Epic in a while. But I don't know. That just doesn't like. That seems like
depends. Because like all the Ubisoft games are on Steam, Uplay, and Epic. So it depends on the thing.
I don't know. I still think that Nintendo easily won.
I think if we're talking about the like, the fucking hardcore gamers, I would say that they probably did too, just on Breath of the Wild, because of the amount of people that have been talking about Breath of the Wild too. That's fair. If we're talking about fucking discussion afterwards, then sure. Because I don't think I've seen people talk when it comes to anything from a E3 and what I have seen people talk about on the internet. I feel like Breath of the Wild 2 probably is the one thing I've seen the most out of all of that. So it's fair. Fair. Personally, my favorite, I don't know, probably was Xbox, but I liked the Square Enix one a lot just because I liked all the games that were shown. I thought were interesting. I don't know if I'm a lot more splintered this year than like, I think this conference one. It's a lot more like, I don't know. There were a lot of cool games and a lot of places for me personally that I thought were cool and I'm into.
Even though I think Nintendo won, still think all of the developers, all of the companies, they should wait until fucking next year.
So that is something I wanted to address at the beginning, because there was I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but I was listening to one where they said something very similar to that. One of the people said something like that, where they should have waited another year, and then somebody else was like, "Well, look at last year. Last year the ESA officially did not do an official E3, but then Jeff came together and said, hey, everyone, still do shit. Do shit with me or do it on your own. And then people did do shit, even though there wasn't as much to show. Like, if you try and kill E3, the gamers are not going to let it die. Like, it's weirdly like people will rise up to take its place. If E3 is not going to do it, the companies themselves will be like, well, fine, I'll do it. Like, and we've seen that happen. So I don't think if ESA, which ESA already is kind of struggling and has been over the last few years, they were not going to let this year fucking pass up. Like, they're in it for the money. Like, they wanted to make sure that this year happened in some way, so that they had to, so that they could keep going.
Kill it dead.
Damn.
Companies have presentations when you are ready and have enough stuff to show. Because if you try to scrounge up a whole bunch of stuff, and because June whatever comes up and we got to go to E3 and you don't have enough to show, then the mind space that your company holds in gamers' minds starts to take a hit because you didn't have that much to show, or you showed the wrong stuff or it was paced bad. But if you wait and just do presentations like throughout the year, and it's like, hey, we got a whole bunch of games coming out, we're going to have a digital presentation. Because I highly doubt next year, 2022 for E3, it's gonna go back to normal, and we're gonna have booths, and we're gonna have like people in masses. That's not gonna happen. So like
well,
keep these digital presentations.
Now.
Yeah,
you know,
like
it's cheaper
keep these
and
digital
they can do the same
presentations. Keep these digital presentations, but don't have E3. We're like gamers are excited to hear about your games whenever you're ready to talk about them. Not when we have to meet a deadline and talk about it because it's E3.
That
like
is
if there was a
nice in
Square
theory,
Enix,
but I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I just don't.
Why? PlayStation does it.
Because ESA is literally
PlayStation said
like
fuck
they
the ESA.
put it on. Sure, but
Yeah,
they're
but
PlayStation. They're one of the only people in the world that can do that.
No, that's not
IMO.
true. Like they can. All of these companies have enough games now to do that whenever they want, and they have. But I think that's a mistake because then, like nobody came out of this E3 and was like, "Holy shit, that was so much! Oh my god, it was amazing." Nobody was
but
like
I
that.
came out of it saying that was a ton of fun. There are a lot of games coming out that I'm really excited for, and I'm glad I got to see all that. And if you keep doing that, then cool. I would love to have the conferences like in, 2018, 2017 PlayStation, right? Where they fucking come out to the goddamn God of War soundtrack being played live on a goddamn orchestra, and you show me fucking hit after hit. I would love that. But I don't expect that, like, ever. that kind of conferences happen like 2 or 3 times ever.
I'm just saying, when you have more in the bag, then show it. If you don't have enough, don't show like a little bit.
I can get behind that sentiment.
Because like it's just, I think it's a waste of time because you showed a bunch of stuff that maybe not a whole bunch of people care about. You didn't show the things that people actually care about. I'm looking at you, Square Enix.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Square Enix games.
Who did that? Like, other than Square, which I see that some people think that Square did that, and that's fair. I get that. But like, other than Square, I think everybody showed cool shit, and even Square.
I don't know Ubisoft and EA. I'm not like. It's kind of whatever.
Well,
didn't
Ubisoft
really show
was
any
kind
new
of weird
games
because Ubisoft, like most of the other companies, kind of at least somewhat went back to a formula of like previous E3s. Ubisoft very much stuck with like, this is our Ubisoft Forward that we have now established, and this is just another Ubisoft Forward. Like,
but it still was just like not a lot of
update
stuff
on previous
to show.
games, other cool shit.
They showed Far Cry 5 or Far Cry 6. It's like we know that's coming out. And it didn't really show. Did they show? They didn't. They still haven't yet to show gameplay from that game.
They did. They showed a fucking CD disc launcher gun that kills people while playing the Macarena.
Oh my god! It's just. I don't know. I think this has been, like, again, nothing against the developers, but this is probably one of the worst E3s in the past, like, I don't know, 5 years.
Sure, but like. I don't know. If you expected any different, I'd be surprised.
But that's the thing.
Like with the world
circumstances. Then don't have it. Like they don't have the Oscars and they still hand out the awards. Actually, no, I don't think they did that. Did they?
But would you not
no, they did.
Take this, like, I don't know. Did you not have fun? Did you not see games that you thought were cool? Like, really? You just didn't
have fun because I'm like sitting through all of this shit and being like, okay, waiting for something that's actually like
I saw
that I'm excited
of stuff that I thought was really cool. I thought Redfall was really awesome. I thought Babylon's Fall was cool. I thought Guardians was cool. I thought the Final Fantasy Origins thing was cool. I thought Halo Infinite looked cool. I thought Breath of the Wild looked cool. I thought Far Cry 6 did look fun. I thought Rainbow Six Extraction did look kind of cool and looked like something. Like, there were a ton of games that I thought looked fun and looked cool, and I had a good time watching. And you just didn't? And that's fine. If no.
That was okay, as a whole, I'm looking at everything as a whole. I'm not just picking out certain games that like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to play that.
But
which
that's
no, I'm looking at E3.
The point is to show you games.
I'm saying E3 as a whole. Like, yes, there are games that I'm interested in. I'm not going to say then I'm not interested in anything. But as E3 as a whole, yeah, it was boring. Like, That's a general consensus about this E3. Yes, there are games that are like, yes, I'm going to play that, but that doesn't save E3 being like, yeah, this was a good E3 because that's 1, 2, 3 games that I'm probably going to play. It's like, no, I'm like, it was boring overall. One, it's spread out like crazy, so you have to always like wait, and that's just shitty. And you're like, okay, well, I have to wait for this conference now and then this conference, and hopefully they have something. And oh yeah, they showed the one thing that I'm interested in at the very end. Like, it was boring. Very, very boring. Well, nothing I was like, oh my God, they showed that. Like when PlayStation showed Final Fantasy 16 in like their little digital, whatever that was,
that's
like last.
Such high expectations. What games are going to do that for you? For me, there's
just
three
just show
franchises.
More Final Fantasy 16.
But that's such like, okay, so because they didn't show one that makes it boring, like it doesn't.
Yes.
E3 does not have to have a one amazing moment for you personally for it to be good and not boring. Like I don't understand. Does it need to have the one
does.
mind? Oh, that's such a high expectation. That's so stupid.
That's not.
Like
I'm not saying that the
man.
game. I'm not saying that the game has to come out like now. I'm saying just show the game, and that's all they did with Nintendo.
But just
Nintendo literally just showed
Final Fantasy 16 means it was boring.
That's literally their tent pole of Square is Final Fantasy. And you have this game that is on the horizon because we've seen it already, and you don't show it a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't show it. Maybe PlayStation has the rights to show it. I don't know. But you can't show a little bit more of that. Yeah, that's a shitty conference.
Because one game, a teaser for one game was missing. It's a shitty conference.
Yes. Because of the significance of that game. It's the same with Breath of the Wild. If they didn't show Breath of the Wild, people would be like, it's okay. Like, they showed what? Metroid.
Yeah, but they would say that. They would say, yeah, it's okay. Not, it's shitty.
Shitty and okay. It's the same shit. It's like...
Physically not. What do you mean?
Yeah. It is. Like, it's whatever.
There's a scale.
It's whatever. No, there's not. I'm not scaling. It was...
There is nuance to opinions. You're allowed to have nuance.
Yes, but I'm still... My nuance is that it was, like, shitty because they didn't show the one game that is, like, built the backbone of that, like, company.
All right. That's
the same with Final Fantasy, or same with Nintendo. If fucking Halo didn't show up, people would have been like, oh, that was the worst conference ever.
I think that is a very different comparison.
Oh my God, you cannot, you can, oh my, comparison. You can't just say that's a different comparison.
Dude, Halo came out because it is. Different games in different situations are different. Halo came out last year on the conference floor, and people thought it looked bad, and they delayed it a year. If you did not come back and show off that game, there would be riots in the fucking streets. It's a different circumstance.
It's not, though.
Here. I just explained to you how it...
You just said that there are tentpole, like that, like, oh, if the conference doesn't show tentpole games, then it's a bad conference. You disagreed with that.
I did not say that. You said that. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying in Halo's circumstance,
you disagreed with that take.
Okay, good. I was like, I didn't.
But now you're saying, oh, because if Halo didn't show,
circumstance,
you're just making a whole bunch of fucking fine print where it's like, unless it's Halo, and because of this and this.
And life is different in certain things. Like,
no,
you know this.
These companies have.
This works.
These companies have tentpole games. If they didn't show these tentpole games, it's a pretty shitty conference because that's all people really want to see.
Okay. Sure. I'm just saying you can't say that it's the same comparison with Xbox because you know that Halo and Xbox is under a different circumstance. Sure. But that is still a different thing. Why do you not know that?
How is it under a different circumstance? But how is that under a different...
What happened last year makes the expectation different.
Just because they delayed it.
Yes,
but if they didn't show
because
it.
it came out last year.
But we've seen other stuff. We've seen other Final Fantasy 16 like gameplay.
Yeah, and people were stoked about it.
Exactly.
And there was no date.
So now to not show it is not, and it's not.
I agree that they should have shown it. I'm just saying it's not the same thing.
It is the same thing. It's a tentpole game for this developer.
Sure.
To not show the tentpole game
is true between both of those, but they are
and then
not the same.
One showed and one didn't show. And then I'm saying if Halo didn't show, then people would be like, that was a shitty conference.
And I'm
Where's
saying,
Halo?
yes, I agree, but that is because of other things involving Halo and Xbox, not just because it's a tentpole game. And you know that.
But that's nobody, like, I'm just talking about if they showed the game. One did, one didn't. If it was vice versa, if Microsoft didn't and Final Fantasy was shown, people would be like, that was a great conference.
Make that comparison because there are more aspects to that to that developer, to that game, to that franchise, to that fucking company. Like, there are differences there. You can't
Black and White, it was a tentpole game. They showed it. Like, they don't have to show a lot. They showed a little bit.
There's more than that to the whole thing. No. That's not it.
Why? Why is that? Why does it have to be? No, but like, doesn't make any sense. Black and White, they showed a tentpole game. People were excited because it's
not black and white. That's the point. That's the point, dude.
I'm just saying they showed a tentpole game. People were excited. One doesn't show the tentpole game that we already know is like well under development. People are disappointed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got you.
So it's the same across the board. It doesn't matter if like, oh yeah, they showed it and people were like, oh, this is shitty. Then they delayed it. Do you think fucking Halo's coming out this year still? Okay, well that's a different, like that's getting fucking delayed again.
That's a different conversation. I mean, I never said that, so.
No, but I'm saying that like still, like they showed it, but like that game still needs a lot of work, but they still showed the tentpole game.
Sure, that fact is true. I'm with you there. They did
like it's simple. I'm not you're trying to complicate it with making all of these little and it's like, oh, but there's a fine print here, and then oh, there's an asterisk here, and then oh, there's an interjection here, and it's like, no,
life isn't that simple, dog.
This is fucking video games. It's pretty fucking simple.
Oh my god.
It's pretty simple. You have a tentpole game. You don't show it, people are going to be disappointed. You show it, people are going to be excited.
And I understand
that's what I'm saying. That is black and white. That's pretty. Like, that is
I am
fact.
with you on that concept. I'm just saying that if Xbox hadn't have shown Halo, then people would have thought that was a shitty conference. So it's the same thing over on Square. Because it's not, and there's differences in details there.
No, there's
but
not,
the whole idea that is 100% true. But the idea of, like, they had a tentpole game, you should show your tentpole game. Sure, with you there. 100%. I'm on board. I'm on board.
Just because it got delayed once, it doesn't mean that like, oh, we're gonna give it special treatment or anything. Like, I don't know.
It does.
No,
it does. They came out knowing the community's expectations of that game. Oh no. I think Ion might be sick again. She's doing the reverse coughing. Hold on, I'm gonna go check on her. Okay. Well, we should cut this short, sadly.
Okay.
Can't talk about Loki this week because, yeah, she is doing the reverse sneezing thing that she did when she had kennel cough, and it is just as bad as when she got it originally, where she woke me up at like 2:30 a.m., and she was tiring herself out so much from it that I had to rush her to the emergency vet, which I'm not going to do this time because the emergency vet then charged me hundreds of dollars for a misdiagnosis. So my vet right now is not open. So I am going to probably watch Harry Potter with her the rest of today and sit with her while she goes through this because it fucking sucks. And she does it. It's as if like there's something stuck in the back of your throat because that's basically what it is. And she's like trying to breathe and it's just like getting stuck over and over and it like tires her out. And then she like fucking collapses over for a second after she does it for like 10 minutes. She's still doing it. Ugh. Well, that's sad. But I'm gonna go sit with her the rest of today. I think that's a good idea.
Hopefully she will get better.
Personally, yeah. But personally, I don't know. I enjoyed E3, but I get it. I get it. They, show more cool shit, I guess. I don't know. I thought people showed a lot.
Show when you're ready. Show when you're ready.
That's fair. That's fair. We can talk about Loki episode 2 and then 3 next time. I'll let people know how far I got in fucking Harry Potter next week. You can find me at twitch.tv/Teddy Generis. Twitter is the same. YouTube is the same. Gonna be putting up Resident Evil stuff if I can actually do that tomorrow. So check that out. Where can people find you, Tyson?
You can find me on Twitter at Tyson Pellegrini, Instagram Pellegrini_17, and twitch.tv/T Pellegrini. I've been streaming pretty consistently. I gotta redo my Mass Effect playthrough because I accidentally saved over another save, and one of the characters I can't save like through dialogue. Usually you can. And I guess I just didn't like do enough side stuff. And so I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't want to like go through the whole series without this character. So I'm going to play offline, just quickly get back to that spot and then do a couple extra like things to make sure, and then get back into it. So it's like I could go on with this playthrough, but like I really want that character there. And it only is like 8 hours. I only have like a 9-hour playtime, and I'm almost at the end. So
there you go. Damn,
that's not too bad.
All right. Well, I hope you save them.
I probably will.
You can find more of that on twitch.tv/T Pellegrini. Right? Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. So with that, we'll see you guys next week. And have a good week.